We'll go ahead and call tonight's regular city council meeting to order. And for tonight's invocation, we have Pastor Ken Manning of the Taylorville Christian Church. Pastor.
Heavenly Father, we honor you tonight as the giver of all life and freedom. We thank you for these leaders who have accepted the great responsibility to lead and to govern our city. Please give them the wisdom and the fairness tonight that they need in all the decisions which they make. And may you be honored in everything that is said and that is done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Larry Budd. Sean Bertle.
Here.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Here.
Rob Heberlin.
Here.
Bruce Jones.
Here.
Ray Kuntz. Here. Martin Voda.
Here.
Earl Walters.
Here.
7 aldermen present and 1 absent. First thing we have is a motion to utilize the omnibus vote for approval of the minutes of the previous meetings listed on tonight's agenda under the title Omnibus Vote Designation. Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second by Alderman Jones. Discussion or comment? Hearing none, roll call.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heberlin.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Kuntz. Yes. Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, I'll just let you look at the minutes there. There's like 9, 10 different meetings there. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of those meetings.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Alderman Walters, second by Alderman Heberlin. Discussion or comment? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heberlin.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Kuntz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, first of all, I want to take a moment to congratulate Chief Herbstreet and his entire police department on a job well done. As I hope everyone's probably aware of by now, Friday evening there was an armed robbery at the local Aaron store here in town. And with some very good police work, our guys were able to identify and apprehend the subjects in a matter of hours. So, great job, guys. Okay, in an effort to try and keep the number of police officers employed by the city at a minimally acceptable level, several months ago we filled a vacancy created by a retirement in the police department. That newly hired officer has recently completed his mandatory training at the Police Training Academy in Champaign and is here tonight to be officially sworn in as a Taylorville police officer. I would ask Kyle Mintz to please step forward and allow City Clerk Pam Peabody to administer the oath of office, and that will be followed by a badge pinning. Good looking police officer.
Do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of a police officer according to the best of your ability.
I do.
Thank you. I'll take that and you can-
Now, is it workers' compensation even if she sticks them?
Has he got his vest on?
Deadly weapon.
We got Kevlar shirts now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Congratulations, officer. Thank you. Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you.
goes half the audience. Yep, safety just went through that.
All right, moving on. Next week, at the end of next week, we'll be heading to Chicago for the annual Illinois Municipal League Conference. And we have to have a voting delegate named and an alternate delegate for that. So I would like someone to make a motion. Usually it's the mayor that's the voting delegate, and I would
I'll make that motion.
ask, well, let's go ahead and make, if it's okay with you guys, Alderman Walters as the alternate.
I withdraw my motion. No,
Oh, that's what I say.
no, I amend my, what did I say withdraw? I amend my motion.
Alderman Dorchenez, who's the second? Alderman Bertle. Additional discussion or comment? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Rob Heatherly,
Yes.
Bruce Jones,
Yes.
Ray Coontz, Martin Voda,
Yes.
Earl Walters, Sean Bertle, Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, next we have a resolution approving a subordination agreement with RECC concerning city's storm sewer easement, this being the West Elm Street.
I'll make that motion, Your Honor, and I can speak to the issue if there's any questions.
Okay, can we have a second on that? Second by somebody.
Second.
Alderman Jones, discussion or comments?
Question.
Go ahead.
What committee did this come out of, and what's this really all about?
Alderman Walters, you want to go ahead and...
This was on the work of City Engineer Joe Green. He was contacted by Real Electric, REA, I guess, that they have some work they need to do in there, and they need access to the area in there, so we're going to share an easement with them on the north 5 feet of that to provide power to the new subdivision, or the new Hathaway homes.
And if this would be rejected, what would be the consequences?
Well, I guess they'd have to look for Plan B. I mean, it's, I don't know if we'd find ourselves back in court or not, but, I mean, it's, the easements are usually there for utility companies to use, and this is normal procedure.
Well, I would point out in paragraph 2 of the subordination agreement on the back side, if for any reason the city believes that what their underground line needs to be moved, they have to move it from time to time. So, according to Joe Green, the north 5 feet is not going to interfere with your present plans and usage, but if it does, this will allow them to tell them they got to get out of Dodge and move it.
Since, if I might, since they contacted City Engineer Green, are they also picking up his cost of drawing this up?
I don't know.
I drew up the subordination agreement.
With Joe, City Engineer Joe Green's work, there's probably some cost attributed to that.
Oh,
Since
I'm
they
sure there
approached
would.
him, are they then going to pay his tab?
I did not have that discussion with him, so I don't know.
Sure, sure. Well, I'll just throw out the question. Generally, when somebody does a subdivision, do they not usually touch bases with our city attorney and ask, or a city engineer to ask that kind of question? Would that not be the normal process?
I think Alderman Heberlin is correct, that when they want something from us, then they should pay the cost, not only with the negotiation with the city engineer, but whatever attorney fees are entailed with this.
Okay.
I was not asked to address that.
Does the same hold true if someone contacts our city attorney?
Well, I usually don't, I'm not doing anything unless you folks tell me to do it. So if they come to me, I direct them back to you.
Okay.
It's on your
Good answer.
lap.
Alderman Vogt.
Just going back a few years when we did the agreements, the franchise agreements with utilities, RECC was a little bit difficult to work with. If Mr. Walters will support me on that comment, were they not?
Yes, they were.
Okay, now they're asking for us to provide a easement basically for them to utilize at no cost, but we had to subject the residents in that area to an additional so-called franchise fee to make the requirements the city was asking for, because RECC did not want to give us the additional funding. So we actually are billing our residents I think it's $3.13, and I know that because it's my bill and it's my birthday. But anyway, I know that we're paying an additional line item that says franchise fee on above and beyond what is being required to meet what the city's request was. That in this case here, are we not able to go back to them and say, hey, for a fee, we'll be more than happy to work with you and let you use this easement?
The answer is yes, you can make the request, because you can table this, direct Joe Green to go back and renegotiate, or have me do it, however you want to do it. And just tell them, you want the easement, you're going to have to pay for it. That's your pleasure, because you own the easement.
In my opinion is that's what I think we should do is have a little bit of negotiation here. I mean, we're not benefiting anything in the way of major dollars off of this development. We know that. And if we can pick up a few extra dollars by allowing the use of these properties, then I think it's in the best interest of the community.
And we will negotiate a high enough fee to cover the cost of whether it be the city attorney or the city engineer or to pay it. I will point out RACC, and you guys were here, you know, at least you were, before I was, whenever that happened, but RACC worked very well with us as far as the solar panels at the airport. You know, they didn't have to do that deal, but they did that for us. So, you know, I don't know how you weigh that stuff out. I mean, I hope we can all be adults and work with one another on that.
Your Honor, I would address this to Alderman Voda. I apologize for my harsh vote from the Chili Fest, I guess, in the rain. But is it going to affect anything that we're trying to accomplish at the airport with RECC, with any other electric? They worked with us fairly well once we got the ball rolling on the power out there and the meters and so forth.
At the airport, and I'll refer back to Mr. Newberry, I believe we're done with everything at the airport in the way of making changes and improvements that would benefit the community itself. As we know, the airport is always looked at as a money pit for the city, which if you look at it from a business aspect, it's an asset to the city. We have done a lot in the way of improvements out there for money savings and cost savings associated with not only electricity but natural gas and everything else that would be a benefit. In that case, I would say there probably would be no negative repercussions that they could come back with us on the airport. The issue would be anything that's unforeseen, which I think we've looked at everything really close as to what would be coming up in the future. But I don't see anything in the near future that would be causing us any heartaches or heartburn there.
Well, the reason I brought that up, I didn't want us to, pardon this paraphrase, I didn't want us to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Correct.
Alderman Bertle.
I don't care so much about negotiating the easement, but I do take what Alderman Hemrick did to heart there. I think that, you know, this subdivision's been a thorn in our side since the beginning, whether it's our fault, their fault, whoever's fault. We've been sued. We've had all sorts of trouble, so at least we could get done here is an engineering fee and attorney fees paid for it. This is something not only that the council didn't want originally, but I don't know that the citizens really wanted it either.
My only question would be, one of the concerns we had was a potential discrimination. Does this raise any flags at all if we haven't done this to anyone else before? And we're
With
just
this,
doing it back on
with
this
this
project?
subordination agreement? No.
Okay.
Well, this is your property that you're allowing someone else to use, and you have a right to charge a reasonable compensation for that use. If it's nothing more than your cost to generate the document to make it legal. And if you want to go further and charge fair market value for usage of the north 5 feet, you could do that as well.
Well, we've got a motion and a second on this, so I guess the appropriate thing would take the vote, and then if it fails,
I believe if someone want to make a motion to table, that would
okay.
override that
Table
motion.
by Alderman
Second.
Bertle,
Second.
second by Alderman Heberlin. Roll call, please.
Bruce Jones.
I guess yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
No.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heberlin.
Yes.
Okay, motion to table passes 6-1, so that item is tabled. Okay, next we have a resolution, this being the Taylorville Municipal Airport, the terms and conditions accepting airport improvement program grants.
I'll go ahead and make that motion, Your Honor, with a comment.
Okay, for the second on that motion,
Second.
Alderman Heberlin, go ahead with your comment. Alderman Voda.
Gentlemen, I know that this is probably the first time you've seen this package when it came through our package this weekend. And I did talk with Mr. Walters, who is very thorough at reading documents, and I've read through the document. I've talked to Mr. Newberry a little bit about this. This is basically you're damned if you do and damned if you don't type of agreement. With the situation at the airport, if we continue as we have to support the airport. We need federal dollars to do that, and what this is doing is agreeing that to their directives to borrow or utilize their monies, we have to agree to this. If we don't agree to this, what will happen is then we will be required to maintain the airport at 100% expense to the city, and we will be told we have to do these things. So this is one of those deals where you don't want to, but you have to.
Thank you.
And, Your Honor.
Alderman Walters.
Also, in reading this document, which was, again, very dry reading, 33 pages, it doesn't necessitate that we take any action as far as doing any projects. It just sets the stage in motion for us to have the help that we need if we choose to do any projects through the TIP program.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Ray Coons.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Bob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, we've got a motion to change the meeting date of the Ordinance and Finance Committee meeting from Wednesday, October 6th, to Wednesday, October 16th, 2013, from the Thursday, October 17th, 2013.
Second.
Alderman Jones, second by Alderman Bertle. Discussion or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? That motion passes. Brings us to city attorney updates.
Gentlemen, seven quick items to bring you up to date from the last meeting. On that school easement that we've been working on, it came to pass that Ameren CIPS, speaking of easements, have a blanket easement over the entire area, including the area that we want to have our easement. Excuse me. The city engineer has been in contact with a representative from CIPS. Your title company has been in contact. They claim they don't own an easement, so they're not willing to sign anything, yet the last word was the title company is positive they own an easement, so they're going to go back to them and try to negotiate it. So we still don't have it yet, so it's still in the works. Second item is, I see in your agenda tonight, I had talked with, I believe it was Alderman Volta sometime about the Laker Petroleum matter. I see it's on your agenda, and I think the mayor's probably going to call for it, and I concur to table that matter this evening so that he can bring back some information to you from an EPA meeting that he has planned, I believe, Wednesday?
Wednesday.
I'm not able to attend that for prior commitment, but, and I think, just to follow up briefly on that, the document that we got is probably not enough even for me to make any kind of an opinion on, because it wasn't what we asked for.
Correct.
Okay. The other item on the East Park property, Pam and I have been speaking with that. We've talked to the other title company about that. That's ready to move. I think now once they, I don't know if Pam's had a chance yet to talk to the county clerk yet to have that deed issued.
I sent a letter to them.
Okay, so the next step is that you're going to be soon the owner of that property by purchasing it through the tax sale. And there was some title issues on it, but we've got those worked out, so you should be getting that property soon. The fourth matter was, remember I spoke last time about the annexation of a particular city roadway?
Yes.
Well, Pam has done some work and found that there are several streets in town that have the same circumstance. So she's going to be preparing a summary of all those streets and ask your engineer to put together an annexation plat so it can all be done at one time and get them where they should be. I also spoke with Mr. McNeely, I guess it was Thursday of last week. He has now tweaked our indemnity agreement, so we'll be revising that and sending it back to your committee to take another look at it, Alderman Jones. Also in that vein, we are still, there's 9 boxes of ordinance violations, boxes that were before my term, and we're going through those, trying to summarize those for you so you can pick and choose what is appropriate to send to the credit agency, credit bureau to try to collect rather than go through my office. I have given the city clerk an updated that we received, I think, last week, that they were able to sort out of the number of dollars that you have outstanding. I think it's over 6 figures, if I'm not mistaken, Pam. So there's quite a bit out there for the getting if we could get this thing moving. And then finally, I don't know if you've gotten a copy of the letter I sent out on September 26th to the legal counsel at Illinois EPA. You folks remember you had that bond that you did back in October 2012. They were holding up the funds until your city attorney would give a legal opinion on it. I wasn't your city attorney at that time, but we were able to, some speaking is to allow me to make such a letter. They've accepted it, and you should be getting those funds released to you shortly. So that's what I had to say right at the moment.
Anyone have questions?
I wasn't at the Chili Fest, but I was talking for 3 hours straight this afternoon in deposition, so I lost my voice, so excuse me.
Anyone have questions for the city attorney?
Just one.
Alderman Jones.
For my committee, you were going to be working on some light agricultural
Yes.
definitions. We're going to be having a meeting on the 16th, if there's anything that can be.
The 16th, as I told Pam, I'm going to be at the Illinois Municipal League.
Yeah.
My particular session starts on Thursday, so I'll be traveling to Chicago, 5 o'clock, I think, on the train up there, so I won't be at your ordinance committee.
Yeah, I understand that you won't
And
be
I
up
won't have
there.
that ready.
Okay, you won't have that ready? Okay. I don't think there's a big hurry, but,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you very much.
It's on, you're getting closer to the front
It's on,
burner.
it's on your agenda.
It's getting close to the front burner. It's not there yet.
All right. Moving on to mayor updates. We talked about the Chili Fest, this past weekend. Our citizens had the opportunity to enjoy the 28th annual Chili Fest, and I'd like to thank the city employees that donated their time to work the chili tent this year. Pam Peabody, Alderman Heberling and his wife, Cindy Brown, Shirley Sams, Jackie Nation, Valerie and her husband Mark Miles, and Tracy Bentley all were up there helping there. So I appreciate them, donating their time for a good cause. And I'd like to congratulate our fireman Bob Dunn for placing first in the Chili Verde contest.
2 years in a row.
2 years. Okay. And we also wish him the best as he moves forward now to compete in the ICS World Championship chili contest. So I must also offer my congratulations to the members of the Taylorville Fire Department who defeated members of the Taylorville Police Department in this year's chili eating contest. And hopefully with some of the new officers coming in, we can train and turn that around next year. I also want to thank Randy Miller and NWTIM for the great job they did all weekend long up there. I mean, you guys do a fantastic job, and Randy's out there all the time and doing a great job emceeing the event, and we certainly thank him for his time and effort as well. And at that, I also had the opportunity to announce the start of the Beard and Mustache Contest. That will be one of the events associated with the 175th anniversary celebration of both Christian County and the city of Taylorville. The winners will probably be chosen that weekend of Memorial Day, and so I invite anyone to start growing them now.
Did you and Alderman Heberling start yours
Well,
today?
I started mine actually Saturday. And
May I comment to that?
now to be fair, this contest is open to both men and women. So, but Alderman Heberling.
I just, the last week I was really ill and I didn't feel like it. This week I'm just lazy. We don't know how long this will last.
It is a good excuse to be lazy. So if you want to join in, please do. The other thing I've got is next week, while some of us are headed to Chicago, there's the Christian County Economic Development Corporation is having their annual meeting, and they've got couple of special guests, and it's open invitation to the aldermen that can attend. They've got a former city resident, Craig Lindvall, who will be making a presentation there, along with Jack Schultz, who is an author of a book called Boomtown USA. And down in Effingham, they've actually set up a program that's now into its 5th or 6th year, where they actually go into the high schools and teach kids to start businesses and actually work with them. And out of that program, they've had over 20 businesses launched there in the city of Effingham. And I really think this is something that if we can support and get behind it, it's something we should do. I mean, when you're in a town like Taylorville, one thing we need is businesses. And we talk about how our youth are now leaving here because their jobs aren't here to hold them here at home. And so the seems to me a very good solution is have them stay here at home and start businesses and have more people come back and work here. So I think it's something we really can support, and I urge you, if you happen to have that, I think it's a Friday at 12 noon at the Taylorville Memorial Hospital auditorium, if you guys can make that, it'd be well worth it, and something I think we should do the best we can to support. I do want to thank the Hopper Foundation. They're actually picking up the cost of this. The cost for most of these things, these presentations, are about $5,000. Craig Lindvall, because he is a local, did cut that in half for us, and the Hopper Foundation is picking up that cost. So please attend if you can. That's all I have, unless anyone has questions. Okay, moving on to the committee reports. Discussions and or motions to approve, adopt, and or deny, and or table, and or amend, and or refer to an appropriate committee in whole or in part the matters regarding the following subject matters discussed at the committee level. We'll start off with Water Environmental Committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Water and Environmental Committee had 4 motions come out of the last meeting. The first motion was to raise the rate of the Langleyville Public Water District 10% to establish a new rate of $4.34 per 1,000 gallons for the next 12 months. I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
Okay, can I get a second on that?
Second, Your Honor.
Alderman Walters, discussion or comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next motion was a motion to approve pay request number 4 from MaxCore Incorporated in the amount of $38,565 for the Cherokee Street Tower Project and forward to the IEPA for transfer of funds from the IEPA low-interest loan to the city.
Okay, give a second on that.
Motion.
Second.
Second, Alderman Heberlin, discussion or comment? Hearing none, roll call.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz. Martin Voda.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next motion was a motion to authorize the payment of $11,609 to Broadkey Well and Pump for repairs of the spare pump. I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
Okay. Second by Alderman Walters, discussion or comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
And the last motion was a motion that there be no charge for any area currently in the city or annexed into the city for fire hydrant installation.
Second.
I'd like to take that forward.
Second by Alderman Heberlin. The only question I have is this something we're going to put in ordinance form? I'm confused here, because right now there's no charge now, right? Unless they specify it themselves and make a special request. The ones you put in before, we haven't charged the residents, have we?
My suggestion is, since you adopted, you remember about 2 or 3 meetings ago, a new 8-4-6A, where that whole system about a permit for fire hydrants outside town.
Right.
You probably need to do this in ordinance form.
Okay.
And I suppose Mr. Spiegel would want the same kind of format. You'd have a permit, he can decide if it's necessary, where it's put, and then there'd be no charge for it if he approves it. Because right now you don't have any ordinance to address that.
Okay.
Because that was tabled the last time, I thought.
Alderman Jones.
How does this, would this be in conflict of our subdivision ordinance?
No. It
I
shouldn't be.
I just want to make sure that there's no conflict there, because if a subdivision is already in the city,
Well,
then they're going to put in the water lines, but here it says that they don't have to pay for the fire hydrants when they're putting those in at the same time. So is that a conflict against subdivision?
yes, yes and no. I mean, typically your developer puts in the fire hydrant and the infrastructure before that subdivision is dedicated to the city.
I
And,
know.
and this
how they do
motion
it.
read as it is now would actually suggest that they wouldn't no longer have to do that.
Yeah, and. we
And I don't
don't
think
want
that's what
that
you want to
happen.
do.
No.
That's why that should also be included in the ordinance.
Okay.
This would be for already established subdivisions that someone feels that they want a fire hydrant. Submit an application for permit. Mr. Spiegel will review it, see whether or not it's something that makes sense. And then if he approves it, then you would say there'd be no charge for that property here. But that's already an established subdivision, if that's your thought. And that could be done that way.
No, well, my thought
It
is
probably
that
should
if
be.
somebody starts a new subdivision, then they're gonna look at this, and say, well, I don't have to do the fire hydrants, that's money that I can save and put somewhere else.
With this
And
motion.
that's not what we want, because
Right.
it doesn't make sense.
Right.
You make a motion to table this, send it to ordinance committee for further discussion and a final presentation.
Okay, motion to table by Alderman Voda. Is there a second on the motion to table?
And,
Alderman Kuntz?
and I
No
might
discussion?
suggest to Alderman Volta is take a look at that ordinance you passed, and your committee can just go through that and just make some changes as you wish. I think the permit process you want, and you'll add that clause about new subdivisions this doesn't apply to.
Okay.
Okay, roll call on the motion to table.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Motion to table passes 7-0. Moving to Lake Airport Committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had a few items come out of the last Lake and Airport Committee meeting. First motion that came out was to direct the airport manager Newberry to file the IEPA's notice of intent for stormwater discharge application for the Taylorville Municipal Airport. I'll go ahead and make that a motion.
Okay, got a second on that?
Second.
Second by Alderman Heberlin. Discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz. Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next item was the motion to direct Airport Newberry to proceed with the asphalt fence restoration associated with the underground fuel tank project. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to table that, and we'll send that back to, well, actually, we just motion to table at this time.
Second.
Due to the fact that you will be meeting with the EPA.
Okay. So we have a motion by Alderman Voda to table, second by Alderman Heberlin. Roll call, please.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Motion to table passes 7-0.
The next motion came out, was a motion to enter into an agreement with Clint Barlow to lease 2 parcels of city Taylorville property south of Meisenheimer Sale Barn on the west side of Nokomis Road for a 2-year lease at a fee of $20 per acre. Mr. Barlow paying all attorney fees and supplying the city with an appropriate certificate of insurance. Make that in form of a motion.
Okay, got a second on that?
I'll second that, Sean.
Second by Alderman Walters. Discussion or comment?
I have you need your finger up first.
I was just going to say,
Alderman
we talked about this before, that we were going to look for other areas like that.
Right.
And so, just like to remind you to put that on the agenda in the future.
I believe it's listed to be on a future agenda, and we will be looking at that. And I'll work with AJ, because AJ's got a good eye on what we can and what land would be available for something such as that.
City Attorney.
Yeah, my question is, I assume you're contemplating a written lease that will be
Yes.
signed with Mr. Barlow, will spell out liability issues for using.
That's correct. If I may, we have a lease in place at this time.
You do,
With
okay.
another individual, and I'll be able to forward that, the city will forward that to you.
Okay.
Mr. Barlow is familiar with the lease and the agreement, so we're going to pretty much mirror that.
Okay.
The details, we'll make sure that you'll know the differences, but they're very minor.
Okay. And I see it's for 2 years. As you know, if it was over 2 years, what you're wanting to do would have to be done by ordinance, but because it's 2 years or less, the motion's going to suffice.
Mhm.
So, you're good.
Anyone else?
Yours are mine.
Roll call, please.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
The final motion that came out of that meeting was a motion to direct Superintendent Jackson to prepare a scope of the project and pursue bids for the HVAC and all associated electrical upgrades, water heater installation, and the roofing for the Lake Marina building. Place that in the form of a motion.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Alderman Heberlin. Discussion or comment?
Your Honor, the only comment I'd have on that is the fact that I did ask Mr. Jackson to request that we receive breakout pricing, so if this does come out way out of line for the total project, that we can pick and choose a little bit and have some control over what we'll spend at this time. So that will be included in the bids, yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
One last comment, just a reminder that the Lake and Airport Committee and the Water and Environmental will be at the airport this coming Thursday evening at 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Finance Committee, and I'll ask Alderman Bertle to please take care of those for us.
Thank you, Your Honor. There's 4 motions that came out of that committee meeting. The first one was a motion to contribute $5,000 to the Christian County Economic Development Corporation. I'd like to make that in the form of a
Second.
motion.
Alderman Jones, discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Second motion was to direct the city treasurer to establish a new bank account for the excess funds of the non-home real sales tax. I'd like to make that in form of a motion.
Okay, can I get a second on that one?
Second.
Second by Alderman Jones, discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Third motion was to approve the transfer of $100,000. It's $50,000 for each the second and third quarter of the year from the general fund to the water fund for repayment of the water fund loan. And I'd like to make that a form of motion.
Okay, can we get a second on that one?
Second.
Alderman Heberlin, discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Last motion was to waive only water costs for the period of 2 years to Gowan Park. Make that in form of motion, please.
Bertle, need a second?
Second.
Alderman Coons, I'll have to ask a question here. To the city attorney, you did have some concerns
I did.
over a entity being in the enterprise zone and then us approving this kind of thing. Are
Yes.
you still concerned, or is this something we should?
No, I am concerned, because I think I brought it up the last time, and you have an intergovernmental cooperation agreement with the county, with the enterprise zone. You've gone through about 9 or 10 different chapters in that and revisions.
Right.
Probably around chapter 2, there was a clause in there that allowed the county to do what you're doing, and that is to add additional type incentives other than what is spelled out in that agreement. Over the years, that got dropped. You never had it. So right now, the two entities have agreed that those property enterprise zone, these are the rules and these are the benefits that you receive. And the applicant pays a price for that, a certification. I mean, they pay some kind of a fee for that,
Only for sales tax.
for sales tax. But when they go to apply, that money is shared between county and the city. You have an ordinance that does what you're saying here, but you've also, on a contractual agreement with the county as to the enterprise zone, I mean, it's up to you fellows. I think that would be interpreted that that's an agreement, a valid agreement between the two entities, that you have to, anything in the enterprise zone, this is what you do. How to get around that, you can go back to the county and say, look, we have other things that come up. For example, you got the theater here on the square. That was a valid issue to consider. Is to put back in a clause that was back done about the second version of that, only this time let both entities add additional benefits than what's the enterprise zone to do what you're doing. But if you're asking me just carte blanche, is what you're doing within the four corners of the law, I would have to say no. I mean, you've got a contract, and that's why I'm asking you to look at that.
Sure.
Because what you're wanting to do makes sense from a business sense, but you do have a contract that I think could be interpreted, this is the rules you have to go by.
Well, again, that's one of the things where I understand what you're saying, and if we need to correct it, we need to correct it. What you're discussing is exactly the opposite intent of forming an enterprise zone in the first place.
Absolutely. But
And so now you're saying you're going to get punished because you're now in the special area we want you to move into, but because you're in there, everyone outside it can have this benefit, but you can't. And that, I'm sure that was never the intent.
I couldn't disagree. I couldn't agree with you more, Merrick. That's exactly right. But I have to interpret the four corners of that document, and the intent is not that clear in there.
Well,
And I would only suggest that if you went back to the county, they would probably take the same view you are. We're here to encourage business, not to discourage it.
Right.
And if somebody doesn't meet with all the dotting the i's and crossing the t's on the intergovernmental agreement, perhaps there's something the city can do, and like you're doing here with the theater and with this Gowan Park.
Alderman
The
Walters.
question I have would be if we go back and amend that document,
Mhm.
and then the city wants to do something, do we have to get the blessing of the county? Do they have to agree to allow us to do it?
No, way it was
Or
written
vice versa.
before, in the second version, the county had the right, I don't know how they got in there, but at one point, they could do what they wanted, even in the enterprise zone. And then that got taken out from years 3 through 9, and you never had that. Why, I don't know, but I mean, it makes sense for both of you to have that kind of flexibility to get business in town or to maintain business in town. That was obviously the intent of doing all this stuff.
And, Your Honor, the next question would be, if we do want to go back and look at that, do we have to have a meeting? Do we have to, the county has to have a meeting? Do we have to jointly agree to do this? To get their blessing on making an amendment to it, and they have to vote on it?
Yes, and probably the state's involved, because it's a state enterprise, zone was set up, so it's.
Thank you.
Alderman Bertle.
A simple question. Can we just get an agreement with the county to do this particular item instead of reinventing the document and going through the meetings and all that stuff? Would it not be easier just to have the attorney contact the county and find out that would be?
Get a letter saying that they don't object to it. And I think you got a good point there, Alderman Bertle, just to get it done for these two entities and go on.
Because I'm sure this is gonna happen again.
Well,
It doesn't
exactly.
happen that often, so.
Right. Well, given the information from our city attorney, I guess I would look for yet another motion to table this until we get it worked out. Who wants, Alderman Bertle?
If you don't ask, I don't tell.
Second by Alderman Coons.
That's not
Okay.
true either.
We've got a motion by Alderman Bertle, second by Alderman Coons to table this
I
issue.
talk an awful lot. so don't
Roll
say
call,
that.
please.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz. Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Brings us to ordinance committee.
Thank you. Motion to pre-plan each spring the ward projects and pre-approve the projects by the Street and Sewer Committee, and to have other projects over $1,000 approved by the Street and Sewer Committee from time to time, effective January 1st, 2014. I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second that, Chairman.
Second by Alderman Walters.
Comment.
Discussion or comment? Go ahead with your comment, Alderman Heberlin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been opposed to this motion ever since the discussion came up in another committee. I don't know why we want to change our procedure on matters that we have had no problems with. A procedure that has worked for several years. I personally don't want to be voting on what another alderman in his ward is wanting to do in his ward to satisfy his constituents. I want to be able to take care of issues within my ward, and I don't want aldermen from other ward interfering with what I want to do. So I'm going to be opposed to this, and I'll vote no. And perhaps after hearing some more conversation, I'll have something else to comment on. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comment? Alderman Voda.
I'm going to pretty much agree with Mr. Heberling. The questions I have, I don't, as representative of the ward and the people in that ward, I'm going to be able to make the decision, like Mr. Heberling says, that I feel is best for that area, for my people I'm representing. And the way this is written is pre-approved. I don't know how you get them pre-approved, and from time to time. What does time to time mean? I mean, if you're going to pre-approve, you get them pre-approved, and they're done at the beginning of the year. But I'm not going to agree to it anyway, so we don't have to get to that detail as to how we're going to do this. I really feel that the aldermen in that ward know best what they need to do in that ward. They know who their constituents are, who's coming to them, talking to them, that this is another hoop you'd have to jump through to get approvals to do projects that you already have on the agenda for your ward. So I won't be supporting this.
Alderman Bertle.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Alderman Heberling. Also, I think that sometimes we lack having simplicity in government for some reason. I'm not sure why. I guess we're always worried about getting sued or somebody having some problems with something somebody else has done. But this is something that has worked, not just for several years, can anybody remember it being done differently?
Well, it must have been, or we wouldn't have that paperwork on it that brought up the question in the first place.
So it's been a long time, is what you're saying.
Well, 83, and then again in 2000.
So it's worked for a long time, and now all of a sudden, it's not working for some reason. And I think the reasons are more personal than they are legitimate. So I'm not gonna support this either. I think it's worked well in the past. I think it can continue to work well in the past, and I think that everybody up here has handled it well in the past. So I think it's fine the way it is.
Alderman Jones.
This was brought to my committee from the Street and Sewer Committee at the request of Alderman Budd, and he made his reasons known that he wants to make sure that whatever we do is open government to the public and to be responsible for those decisions. I'm not going to speak for him, but this was brought to my committee in a spirit of compromise. Some guys want it, some guys don't. But this allows the pre-approved ward projects, and Superintendent Wiseman agreed that there are some that we know we're going to do for that year. So in the spring of that year, all we have to do is say, this is what we're going to do. This is what the aldermen want to do. I don't think there's any alderman that's going to disagree with the alderman from that ward. And it gets done, and we get all those projects pre-approved. The ones from time to time would be as if Alderman Voda had a constituent called up, said, hey, this portion of the road needs to get fixed. It's going to cost $2,000. We're going to get it fixed for you. All he has to do is talk to Superintendent Wiseman. The Street and Sewer Committee will handle that issue. It's a small hoop to jump through. Like I said, Alderman Bud brought this up. It came to my committee. And if you guys don't want to do it, vote it down. If you don't, I'm still going to love you. Okay? Let's get on with the meeting.
Well, again, I think that's the key thing, is the concern of openness. I mean, the people out there, if we want to bid on any large project over $20,000, we have to make it very public and everything else. Here, the way you're doing it, in theory, it's not done, but in theory, you're giving an award $50,000, $60,000 and saying you don't have to ask the rest of the guys how you spend it. And that just doesn't ring very good. Now, obviously, if it was a job over $20,000, I guess they still have to bring it back because we would have to do that. So I think we need to keep that in mind, that there is a limit on what you're doing anyway. It would have to be bid on there. But I just think it sends the wrong message. Well, we can't wait 2 weeks to allow the press to know what's being done in your ward or something like that. I understand saying we'd like to make it easier, but I can't imagine a situation where 2 aldermen in 1 ward are feel so strongly about doing something that they're afraid the other 6 aldermen would be against, that you wouldn't want to put it out here. It just seems awkward to me. Alderman Heberlin.
Everything that Alderman Jones described, we're already doing. Every spring, major projects are given to Superintendent Wiseman. So this wouldn't be changing anything, except it's going to be another item on another agenda that we're going to have another discussion on. Nothing will change. The system has worked for years and years and years that I'm aware of. There hasn't been any malfeasance of any kind. So I just don't know why we would change that. Why would we make something more difficult to do when we already have a full schedule of things to do anyway?
Well, as I pointed out earlier, councils, for some reason, put that in there, and we chose not to, for whatever reason. Now we don't need to obey that. Alderman Dorchenez.
Well, I agree it ought to be left alone. Somebody had said to me that, if everybody hasn't had a chance to vote on streets that you're going to fix, that you might be playing favorites, that you might be doing a favor for somebody that comes to you and asks you to have something done. But this wouldn't prevent it either. I mean, if somebody was going to play a favorite for whatever reason, the other aldermen are going to agree with it. They don't know that, and they're not going to object to something that you want done in your ward.
Well, there'd be a better chance that 8 of them would know it as opposed to 2. And again, if you do something for someone in your ward under this concept you're talking about, other than it just happened to appear on the bills, how is the press supposed to know that?
They need to come to meetings so they can find out what's going on.
And they try.
Because they don't now. If they was
Well,
interested,
again, that they're based on the budget of their individual businesses, they do the best they can. I think they do a fine job. But again, that's one of the things. Again, for one small step, you would never have that question. That hey, was something done without it being available for someone to discover or wonder about? If you got a situation where one thing is being done in one ward and not in the other ward, that's a legitimate concern that someone should have the right to say, why is he being treated different than I am? And then you need to have to answer them saying, well, because we say that if 2 aldermen in this particular ward, we make the choices and the other aldermen do not get a choice on this. So there is going to be some differences in there, and we understand that, and we're approving that by our actions right now. City Attorney, do you have a thought?
I hear both sides here. I think what I'm hearing Alderman Heberling say is that what you're making a motion is we're already doing that. Other people are saying if we're already doing that, why not put it in writing anyway? So I really don't know what the debate's really about.
We've been doing a lot of things over the years that just in the last few months since you've been here, you've been telling me we shouldn't keep doing that.
Well, you keep asking me, I'm telling you.
When it comes to streets in your ward, you've been elected by the people in that ward. So why should somebody in another ward be able to tell you? And I realize on other issues we don't do that, but Bruce and I have gotten along great. We haven't had any conflicts in picking streets to fix, and I haven't heard of anybody else having any problems. So I say if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Okay. Well, there's more important things to argue about.
Yeah,
so, if any other comments before we take a vote? Roll call, please.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz,
No.
Martin Voda,
No.
Earl Walters,
Yes.
Sean Bertle,
No.
Ernie Dorchenez,
No.
Rob Heatherling.
No.
Okay, motion fails 5-2.
I'm glad we went through all that effort. Next motion is a motion to direct the city attorney to amend section 166 of the Taylorville City Code regarding public speaking at meetings. I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, got a second on that?
Second.
Alderman Bertle, discussion or comment?
Comment.
Alderman Heatherly.
I'd like to have one thing added. Under number 2, on the 4th line, and I'll read through the entire paragraph and then
Okay.
tell you when I get to my proposed amendment. At committee meetings, when members of the public are present and asked to address the committee before any decisive action is taken on a pending subject matter, then it can be handled either by the chairman opening the floor to the public for discussion, or a motion can and should be made, and I would like to have inserted, and the chairman will accept and acknowledge the motion, and then seconded by committee members to suspend the rules, and so forth.
I think
Nothing here says that a committee chairman has to acknowledge a motion made. And that really was the root of our issue that night.
if you, the next sentence there, Alderman Hebring,
Yeah.
if such motion is made,
But before, I made the motion, but the chairman wouldn't accept the motion. That was the problem. And this doesn't clarify that.
I guess that's how you read it, but the intent of this is, and it can be tweaked.
I'd just like to have it clarified.
Because if the motion is made, yes, a chairman has to recognize a motion that's seconded, has to be seconded.
Well, if the chairman will not acknowledge the motion, then how can
No.
a second be made?
Okay.
The
Well, if it-
chairman has to ask for the second, if I might, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Well, under Robert Rules of Order, which you're subject to, if a motion is made at the committee level, the chairman has to recognize it, call for a second. If there's a second, then there has to be a vote taken.
Yeah.
And if there's the majority vote, vote in favor of that particular motion, the chairman's obligated to comply with that motion.
I truly understand what you're saying, Attorney Romano.
Okay?
But what I'm saying is that this doesn't clarify our situation from the other night. It doesn't rectify it. I think we need it explicitly stated that the chairman has to accept the motion made. Because this doesn't say that.
And I can change that, just how I just
Sure,
read it.
sure. Well, it's a double-edged sword, though. Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. If someone is wanting to discuss something that's not on the agenda, then someone could say, well, I'm going to make a motion anyway. I don't care if it's on the agenda because we'd like to have a discussion on that. And you could lose control of the meeting rather quickly.
If I might, I can see that point. I mean, the motion has to be
Well, that's why
germane
it
to
says
the
on a pending
matter.
subject matter.
Has to be germane to the subject.
Yeah, that's why the first phrase says on a pending subject matter. You can't just make a motion to talk whether or not the Cardinals won today.
Correct.
You have to, they did, by the way. Is
Well,
that-
they needed to, by the way.
That's right. It has to be, as I put in a pending subject matter. It's an agenda item.
Sure.
So, yeah, I can change that. I mean, that was the intent of the whole thing, is that if a motion's made, chairman has to recognize it and call for a second.
I appreciate that.
Okay? Is that okay with everybody else?
I'm good.
Okay.
So we just need to amend our motions to
Okay.
add that. Alderman Jones, you amend yours?
Yes.
Alderman Bertle?
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion, comment? Roll call, please.
Ray Coontz,
Yes.
Martin Voda,
Yes.
Earl Walters,
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next motion we had was motion to direct the city clerk to print a notice at the end of the respective agendas for all city council and committee meetings regarding public speaking at meetings. I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, got a second on that?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bertle. Discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Martin Voda,
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Our last motion was a motion to consider the concept of shared sewer with the property owner being responsible for up to $2,500 and/or $3,000 for sewer installation, maintenance, and repair of sewer lines, and to direct the city attorney to research the legality of such a program. And the reason that we made that motion Attorney Romano, is that we're not sure that we can do that according to our ordinances at this time. So we want you to research that, and get back to us on that. And that's the concept of, if someone has a sewer issue that may cost $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 or more dollars, most repairs are, which the homeowner and/or business is liable for now. We're looking at setting that ceiling at around $3,000 so that they don't have to come up with $10,000 or $12,000 or $15,000 for a real deep sewer repair. The city would then bear the cost after that.
Are we talking about from the meter and then on the service line to the property?
We're talking about taps that are on the easements that go into the main trunk lines.
So my service line from my house
They're still responsible for that,
and travels over your easement and connects to the meter that's under the road?
which they're still responsible for.
Okay, that's not what we're talking about sharing.
No,
The meter.
no,
Okay.
this is a sewer tap only,
Okay.
not
Sewer tap.
a water line. This is
All right.
just a sewer tap. And they're responsible for it, the tap all the way to the trunk
Main
line.
line, right.
And we've had some instances where people have had to pay, what was, you said $25,000 for that one? That's pretty expensive. And we've got some other issues that go along with that. But what we're looking at is the concept of they're gonna be responsible for the first $3,000, and then the city would be responsible for the cost after that. Not that the city would do the job, but they would be responsible for the cost. The city may wanna do the job themselves and save themselves some money.
So you're talking about my sewer trunk line,
Yeah.
call it a service line, from my house out to the city's main trunk.
Yes, and they're
If that
responsible.
breaks or collapses, you're saying that the city, anything over 3,000, the city will pay?
Only on the
Take a
easement,
second first.
only on the easement,
All right,
right away.
Alderman Jones, you made the motion. We need to get a second so we can discuss it.
Okay.
Get a second from somebody to discuss this?
Second.
Alderman Bertle. Okay, now it's open for discussion. Alderman Dorchenez.
What the water does is, from the house to the meter, you're responsible.
Correct.
From the meter to the trunk line, the city's responsible. Okay, so if you have a sewer line that comes to the easement, and then it go, for the worst case scenario would be the sewer line is on the other side of the road. So now you gotta bore into the road, or you gotta cut through the road, and it becomes very, very expensive for the homeowner. And when a person purchases a piece of property, normally they don't ask where the sewer is. They're looking for a location, they're looking for 3 bedrooms, et cetera. They're not asking where the sewer is. And so where you can run into problems, and where they mentioned the exorbitant cost is, if you, so that would be the homeowner's responsible to the easement. And then when you get into the easement, then the maximum they would have to pay for that part of the work would be $3,000.
Okay.
2,500 to 3,000, whatever it is.
Okay,
Okay.
I got you.
So no matter what happens from there to the trunk line, the owner would only be the maximum responsibility would be whatever, $3,000. So you don't get stuck with it.
And you're thinking, if I may ask that question, what you're thinking of is the share concept is the cost of this work, not the sharing of the resultant damages that may occur because that line broke or collapsed under our road.
Just
Okay,
the repair.
I got you.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Alderman Jones, second by Alderman Bertle. Roll call, please.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Bob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Made it easy, yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Moves us to Street and Sewer Committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. There's a number of motions, so we'll try to get through these. The first, I'd like to make a motion to place 2 temporary parking signs stating 15-minute parking from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. in front of the building at 210 East Main Cross, where we have a new business that's going to be opening up shortly. We have the proprietors in the audience this evening.
Second.
Second by Alderman Heberlin. Discussion or comment? Roll call.
Question,
Nope.
I'm sorry, but you have an ordinance 6-3-3 that I think you need to amend to to include these 2 parking spaces. One of the motions made at the committee level had that in there. Then it was 2 to 2, I saw, and then it came back. Looked like the same motion, except you forgot to,
I think in the future, if this thing works out, we might do that.
okay.
But I think this is a good way to find out if that concept would even work.
Don't expect to enforce it then.
Right, well,
Exactly.
I mean, you can't without an ordinance, you know that, okay. That's why you did that. See, you're sharp, you're 1 step ahead of me.
Yes.
all right, roll call, please.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion to approve pay request number 2 in the amount of $415,605.46 to McIntyre and Company for the Ward 2 City Park Addition Phase 4 Park Avenue Storm Sewer Project.
I'll second that.
Second by Alderman,
I have a comment on that.
okay. Go ahead with your comments, Alderman Walters.
I'm updating the information that we have on the 2009 sewer project fund, so we know where we have in the way of dollars. And at the last time that I spoke of this issue, I thought we would have about $500,000 left over at the end of the project. I failed to take away the amount that we're going to be approving tonight under the bills of $415,605.46 for McIntyre, plus another $10,828.10 for a total of $426,433.56. So if we subtract that figure I just mentioned from the $968,512.85, I have, and I say this nicely when I say I have, $542,079.29, and the project is not done. So we're going to be very close to not having any money left whatsoever. And I'm going to be talking with City Engineer Joe Green the next few days to see if he can get an estimate of approximately how much more we anticipate having to pay out to McIntyre and Company. So I want you gentlemen to be aware of it, so we know positively there's no money to do the next phase of the city park. Positively, I'll just barely be able to squeak us by and finish this project up here. Thank you.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Make a motion to approve the September 17, 2013 Taylorville City Tree Board minutes.
Okay. Second by Alderman Bertle. Discussion or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor? Against? Motion passes.
Next motion, I'd like to make on the recommendation of the tree board to deny the request to remove the silver maple tree at 504 North Snodgrass.
Second by Alderman Bertle. Discussion or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes.
The next motion, I'm going to be making an amendment to, and I'll fill you gentlemen in on as to why we're making this motion, amending this motion after I make it. Motion to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with IDNR Mine Subsidence Sanitary Sewer System Rehabilitation Program Project 1, Phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's part of the change, gentlemen, right there. And then the next part of the change, eliminate when it starts with in the alley. We're going to be putting in the area bounded by Houston Street on the west, Cheney Street on the east, Vandiver Street on the north, and Prairie Street on the south. That's the amended, and submit a request for assistance letter. That's my amended motion, and after I get a second, I'll speak to why we're doing that.
Second.
Second by, who was that? Eberly? Dorchenez, okay. Go ahead with Mr. Walters.
The mayor and I were informed by City Engineer Joe Green that IDNR does not want to do 4 separate projects on that. They want to have one intergovernmental agreement that encompasses the entire area. So based on that, we have to have all of the engineering done and all the plans and everything done on the entire project. We can still bid that out in phases like we talked about before, but they will not allow us to do 4 separate projects. So they're informed, that's why I made the amendment to the motion. If you want to add to that, Mayor?
No, I mean, that's the situation. And again, I'll talk with the city attorney afterwards, but I don't like the concept, the fact to hear somebody's guilty of something and they've got a fund set aside to take care of those. I don't know why we get stuck with engineering fees anyway, but.
Engineering fees. I think this total project is $1.2 million, something like that.
1.2 to 1.5.
And of that, the IDNR is going to accept up to 10% of the total cost of the project for design engineering fees, and they're going to accept up to 15% of the total cost for the supervision and the watching of the installation. Now, Mr. Green called me, I believe it was perhaps Friday, and his estimate on this is that he thinks that his total cost, instead of the 25%, which they would be approving, that he thinks his total cost is going to be between 16, 17, and 18%. So, which is going to be, I mean, really quite a savings. And I would like to have that amount put in the minutes, because that was from Mr. Green. But, I mean, it's a project that needs to be done. I think that we need to support it. Thank you.
Anyone else before we vote? Alderman Walters.
That also goes back to why I brought you up to date on funding, because we were going to be using money that I thought I had left over, or was going to have left over from this 2009 $10 million. So we're going to have to maybe do some digging around and look for some additional sources of funds, because we have to complete that project with Rex McIntyre in City Park. However, it is what it is, gentlemen.
All right, roll call, please.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
The last motion, and I spoke with Superintendent Wiseman, he's here for clarification. Motion to approve the Alt-Offer Power one-year renewable maintenance agreement for the 6 sewer lift station generators and the 1 city hall generator at a price of $494 for service contingent upon verification of the payment of prevailing wages. And we did receive new papers from them, and they do include prevailing wages. And Superintendent Wiseman, if you gentlemen want to, can speak to the issue of the mix-up on the numbers that we didn't have, the math didn't come out. So that's my motion, Your Honor.
Second.
Second, Alderman Haberlin. Does anyone need to hear from Mr. Wiseman? Or? All right, roll call.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Brings us to Emergency Services Committee.
Question, Your Honor,
Oh,
before
Alderman
we
Bowden.
move on. We had a substantial amount of rainfall Saturday. I didn't receive any phone calls regarding issues with flooding. I don't know if you did or not, but if we did not, I think this is a perfect example that maybe we've done the right thing with pursuing these storm sewers, integrating them into the system the way we have. A rain like that 2 years ago, we'd have been getting phone calls, General. So just wanted to make sure that that was out there.
Well, I will say I did park my vehicle for the Chili Fest in the parking lot of the firehouse, and I came back and had to walk through about 1.5 feet, only to see his guys pull in and say, "Hey, we have a drain there. We'll pull that for you." A little late, but So. Emergency Services Committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. There's a motion to allow Police Chief Herb Street to purchase a repeater antenna from Advanced Communications at a cost not to exceed $1,400. I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
Okay, a second on that. Second, Alderman Koontz. Discussion or comment? Roll call.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next motion was to direct the City Clerk Peabody to prepare an ordinance to sell portable radios to the Taylorville School District, Vision Way, and St. Mary's for $1. Make that in form of a motion.
Second.
Second by Alderman Haberlin. Discussion or comment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Alderman
I personally spoke with Superintendent personnel as well as Matt Hutchison, and they were very enthusiastic about receiving any number of radios and would positively put them to good use.
Any concerns at all? I mean, does it matter whether it's public versus private, or that?
No, I'm sure Madam Clerk is going to prepare the appropriate ordinance that will
will.
allow that to happen. If she follows the form we used probably 8 years ago, she'll be okay.
Good.
Just
Yeah, Alderman
one
Voda.
question. You're looking at $1 for 3 different schools. Was that 33 1/3 cents? How do they figure that? Who's actually paying the dollar? Is my question.
I thought it was $1 for each.
It's
school.
$1 for each.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
We might as
Because
well
I
miss
was
it.
going to go ahead and pay the dollar.
I'll
That's
say I'll
exactly
pay
me.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Motion passes 7-0.
Yeah, this last motion needs to be amended, and I'll ask the two aldermen to amend their motion when we get to the end here. Motion to direct the mayor to send a letter to the Board of Fire and Police Commission recommending that the hiring rules be changed to require that applicants for firefighters have their paramedic license, and it says before applying for the position that we want that to say at the time of hire. I'd ask Alderman Jones to amend his first and Alderman Coontz to amend his second.
All right, you make that in form of a motion, that
Yes.
amended, okay. I need a second on that amended motion.
Second.
Alderman Coontz, discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz. Martin Voda.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Finally, a motion to approve and ratify payment of bills in the amount of $781,484.88.
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Comment.
Second?
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Second by Alderman Walters. Go ahead with your comment, Alderman Bertle.
Alderman Bud asked me to read his finance report. It's kind of lengthy, so pay attention.
Dispense with the reading of the report.
Second.
Street Department,
That motion
Carlinville,
prevails.
equipment, dump bed and cylinder, $12,949.76. A bug, maintenance flush was $5,650. HD supply pipe and grates for $2,615.50. Christian County culverts and oil was $1850.19. Sewer Department was McIntyre and Company, Ward 2, Phase 4, at $415,605.46. The airport was Aero Energy Jet Fuel at $25,719.58. Police Department, detective vehicle at $17,850. In-sync system maintenance agreement was $3,555. At the Water Department, chemicals was $12,976.37. Hack Company maintenance turbine meters, $3,211. Midwest meter service work was $4,151.33. At the Fire Department, we had Mike Cruz at IES MAPD. That stands for exactly. Hurricane reimbursement, $3,440.97. Legal retainers for October was $6,000. Green and Bradford was $15,518.85. Louis Morris was $8,880.65. Altoffer was $2,487.04. Phil Tullis for curbs and sidewalks was $5,386.80. Larry Berry for tires and repairs was $2,629.25. Garbage, assuming that's for all departments, was $2,858. Unique temporary help was $3,545.79. Morrison Electric for $2,065.27. Travelers Insurance, $40,087. Illinois Public Risk Workman's Compensation was $23,787. Insurance was $99,464. Electric and gas was $13,847.50. And the telephone was $1,153.06 for a total of $737,222.01.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherling.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Ray Coontz.
Yes.
Martin Voda.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Per subparagraph G of 5 ILCS 120/2.06, this portion of the city council meeting is reserved for any person wishing to address the council on relevant subject matters concerning the city. Would anyone like to address the council? I see no one. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Voda, second by Alderman Heberlin. Discussion or comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Motion passes. Meeting adjourned 8:14 PM.